I am Heidi Benjaminson, your host of Confidence Coaching, a podcast for mothers who want to like themselves and their teens. Life isn't a spectator sport. Success comes to those who show up every day with a pocket full of courage, grit, and a little sparkle. I'm glad you're here. Hello. Welcome to episode 157, Relationships, a Stay in Your Lane series release. I'm glad you're here. If you're new and have enjoyed my podcast, I would love it if you took a moment to leave a comment, a rating, and review on iTunes or wherever you listen. It helps me know what's resonating with you and helps the podcast grow. Y'all, I'm hoping to get to 100 ratings or reviews by this summer. I'm pretty close. I was just coaching a client who said, everyone needs coaching. This work changes us. If you're feeling unsettled, maybe big life changes are coming, kids are going to college, the nest is emptying, sign up for an introductory coaching call. A link is on my website and in a lot of social media posts. Come for an hour. It's free. See what coaching is like. Dump out your troubles at my feet. I promise you will feel infinitely better after, and you'll know if coaching can help you. Okay, today we are continuing the Stay in Your Lane series and talking about relationships. All relationships. Often that word is used when talking about intimate or romantic relationships. I'm using this term broadly today. I just looked up the word relationship, and there are two good definitions for how I'm talking about it. A relationship is the way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected, or the state of being connected. So I love that. Connection. And another definition is the way in which two or more people or groups regard and behave toward each other. We hear terms like professional relationship, attorney-client relationship, tenant-landlord relationship. So relationships connect us to others, and relationships may define the way in which we regard or treat each other. I will hear people say, or I've said it myself, well, this one person isn't, quote, working on the relationship. Or we say, oh, they don't have a close relationship. So we have a lot of judgment about actions that would result in good relationships. And I've heard it said, and I totally believe this, the quality of our relationships has a direct correlated effect on the quality of our mental health. That's because our relationships reflect what is going on in our head and body, which I'm going to be getting to in a minute. So if you look at the Stay in Your Lane model, which we've been talking about for several episodes, which is based on a lot of psychological models like CBT, ACT, and others, we only have control over what we think about other people, how we feel about ourselves, about others. We only have control over what we say to others, about others, what we do in relation to ourselves and others. We can only create and become someone who is kind, who is a good person. We don't have control over how another person thinks or feels about us. We don't have control if another person gives us gifts or calls us, how they speak to us. We can only control ourselves. So, is this good or bad news regarding relationships? What do you think? I think a lot of us were raised and even still want to know ways to manipulate and control how another person thinks about us. And why not? The world would probably be a nicer place if we could all make each other think nice things about each other and ourselves. But we can't. Yes, our lane has influence over others in their lane, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But y'all, I think this is good news. We can only control the following things, and this is where our focus should be. First, what we think about the other person. Second, what we imagine or the stories we tell about what they think about us. And third and last, what we think about ourselves. These three factors then fuel what we do or don't do in relation to this other person. We act different when we think someone likes us or not. We act different, speak different when we like ourselves or don't like ourselves. We are different depending on if we think someone else likes us or not. These factors fuel confidence or very tangible insecurity. All three of those are going on in our head, in our body, in our lane, not in anyone else's body, head, or lane. It is not our business what other people think about us. Maybe you've heard that quote before. And it's true. It's true because even if someone tells us they love us, we don't actually know what they are thinking or feeling. We may see expressions of love, which is our mental interpretation in our lane of what people do or say when they love someone, but we don't actually know. Someone may tell us that they don't like us, and we can choose to think, well, they don't like me yet, or they misunderstand me. We don't need to say that, but what we think of them, regardless of what they actually do think, changes us, changes the relationship we do have with them. I have a lot of close friends with whom we don't always exchange gifts on birthdays or holidays, and often gifts, they are seen as an expression of love generally, and they can be. But I know all of these friends do love me because I know how I feel about them, and I choose to interpret anything about them as such, even if we don't maybe talk for even long periods of time. I've also received praise and positivity from people I'm pretty sure we're putting on a show. So it's never what others say that forms the relationship we think we have. We always have the agency to control our side of the relationship and what we ultimately create with regard to others. I'm going to show you these three parts of the relationship using an example I had today with a client. With her permission, I told her, oh my gosh, this is exactly what my podcast is about. And as we went through it, she saw so clearly and had a clear plan on how she wanted to change in relation to this person, her neighbors. My client, let's call her Mary, she wanted coaching on a situation she was having with her neighbor, an exchange they had just had regarding a tree that is on both of their properties. And the tree is getting infected. It needs to be treated, and if it isn't treated soon, it's going to damage her house. As Mary told me the situation, several times she said, well, he thinks I'm an idiot, and made reference to the wife not liking her as well. I took note of those comments, but didn't bring them up right away. I saw, oh, this is interesting, the story she's telling herself about what the neighbor thinks of her. I wonder how this will influence what Mary says or doesn't say. She then shared about how the neighbor is not treating the tree in the way or the urgency that she would like, and she believes it's because they don't care. Again, more of her story of what they think about her. To protect her home, she put up a fairly ugly tarp, and she admitted, in part, she put it up to irritate them, since they'd have to see the tarp every day also. Now, ironically, though, she also has to see the tarp every day. She shared with me the text that she sent to the neighbor and that they sent back regarding the tree and the tarp, and all of it just devolved into both of them being defensive and rude and snarky to each other. We picked apart the entire story. We picked apart why she did what she did, what she ultimately wants the end result to be, which is the neighbor treating the tree and her home not getting damaged. We picked apart who benefits and who's hurt from her texts, from her attitude, and we separated what's in her lane, what she has control over, and what she doesn't. A lot of past interactions with these neighbors were influencing what she thought of them and how she acted. She felt validated for a hot second to do something mean, like put up the ugly tarp. But Mary even admitted the snarky comments on the text are not who she wants to be. She admitted she doesn't want to see the ugly tarp. She felt hurt that the neighbors weren't taking action, and in return, her actions felt justified, but really only made the whole thing worse. I went through these three parts of the relationship she has with the neighbors. She didn't have a lot of glowing things to say about her neighbors. And what really stuck out, as I mentioned earlier, was also what she thinks they think about her. she thinks she has a lot of evidence that they don't like her, that they think she's an idiot and such. They don't do very friendly things. But all of this is a story. All of this is optional. What I showed her is that because she's creating a negative story that we have no idea if it's true, this negative story is fueling her to act in negative and hurtful ways to them. And she admitted she has no real idea what they think of her. Ironically, the way she reacted actually gave them evidence that she isn't nice. Mary saw right away, oh my gosh, I've made up this story, and even if it's true, it's putting them on the defensive, and it's getting me farther away from the goal of working with the neighbor and finding a solution to the tree. She saw her part immediately, mainly because she's also a star client. Her awareness and ability to not be defensive and to really just see her contribution, be it positive or negative, she saw how her relationship with them was hurting all of them. We then coached more on how she wants to change, what she wants to think about them, and specifically what she wants to think that they think about her. And none of it involves Mary asking her neighbors what they think, or even Mary trying to change what they think. She immediately changed the story to be one where they all want to take care of the tree. They're all on the same team. Mary sees how if she acts like the good neighbor and kind person that she is, the neighbors are more likely to want to treat the tree. Her new story is one that fuels her to apologize, own where she wasn't her best self, and not blame anyone. Her new story, this new relationship she has with the neighbors, is completely 100% in her control. Mary now isn't dependent on the neighbor changing or doing anything for her to feel better about them and to act in a way that she likes herself. Mary felt instantly lighter by the end of our call because she had released the need to control or worry about the thoughts and actions of her neighbor. She was totally back in her lane, and I could see the confidence back in her body. She was going to need to be courageous and vulnerable to change the relationship dance or interaction with the neighbors, but she was willing to do it because it's who she wants to be. And y'all, it'll probably save her tree and her house. So that's a win. Remember, even when we do have a lot of evidence for how people do think, being intentional about the stories we make up and the energy we project to the other person really matters. When my second son, Matthew, could show preference between his parents at a very, very, very young age, he would choose his dad. Since he was born just 18 months after his brother, both of them were in diapers for over a year together. It really benefited me that Matthew would choose his dad. When he was maybe a year old, I remember many times Matthew would be awake in the crib, would be waiting for someone to get him out, and I would say, Matthew, I'll get you out now, or you can wait for your dad to get out of the shower, and he'll get you out. I kid you not, he indicated he would wait for his dad, so he was the one to lift him out of the crib. Now, all of this was fine with me, but as the years went on, I remember starting to tell the story to myself and others, mainly in jest. Well, Matthew loves his dad to pieces, and I'm just this random adult in his life. I wasn't in competition with his dad at all, but I was starting to tell a hurtful story about what Matthew thought about me. And I noticed a small and perceptible change inside me toward this child of mine that I love more than anyone, only equal to the love for his brother and sister. And I didn't like that change inside me. It wasn't who I wanted to be, and it wasn't fueling me to talk to him or treat him the way I want to. It was small, but I noticed it, and I changed it immediately. I changed the story to Matthew loves his dad, idolizes him, which I completely love. His dad is worthy of that, and I know Matthew loves me so much. I do know that. Because I think of myself in high regard, because I know I'm trying very hard to be a good mother, to be a good influence on him. It's easy for me to create the story that all of my children love me. At times, the story is they don't understand me now, and maybe why we do certain things as parents, and maybe they don't interpret what we're doing as love. But that's okay that right now they don't understand it. I don't want any of my made-up stories to hurt me, to hurt them, or fuel me to act in ways that tear down our relationship. My teens, well, mainly the boys, will often not text back. I'm in control of what I think this means. I want to choose a story, an interpretation that will fuel me to always be attracting the best in them, fueling me to project positivity into the energy between us. We just moved to a new neighborhood. We're meeting a lot of new people. I'm choosing deliberately to think that everyone is nice, that everyone likes us, that, of course, everyone likes being friends with us. I interpret anything people do or don't do as being favorable to us and to them. If someone doesn't wave, it's because they didn't see us, not because they aren't friendly or we aren't worthy of a wave. My relationship with my neighbors, with anyone, is in my control. They don't need to do or say or be a certain way for me to act and be who I want to be. Now, yes, relationships are then built on actions, communication. We like being around people who bring out the best in us. I like being with people who are easy to be with. There are people in my life who I can tell maybe do not want a lot of communication, who do not want a close relationship. And I intentionally do not make that mean anything negative about either of us. There are seasons and chapters in life where we're closer with some. And some friendships run their course and they just won't progress more. I choose not to make that a bad thing. This requires me to love myself and love them, wishing all of us the best. To love others and have high regard for others, we need to love ourselves and have high regard for ourselves. I promise you, our relationships with others change when we solely change these 3 thought processes: what we think of them, what we think they think of us, and what we think of ourselves. All of these reside in our lane and release needing to know or control what others think of us, which, remember, that's in their lane. We then fuel ourselves to speak to others, to text respectfully, which my client Mary could see wasn't happening with her old story. We project positivity, confidence, love, warmth, kindness to others. We act in ways that build positive relationships, and we do so with confidence, releasing the insecurity of trying to please and control others. So I challenge you to think of one relationship right now in your life that you think could be better. Write down first everything that you think about this person. And it can be nuanced. It could be some positive, some negative. We all have complex feelings and thoughts for people. Then write 1 or 2 sentences about what you think they think about you. Don't overcomplicate it with evidence. Maybe what would the subtitles be to the chapter that they're writing about you? Like Mary kept saying, "Oh, they think I'm an idiot." Her default stories about what the neighbors thought, or like my default about what my son was thinking, that I was just some random adult in his life. Next, what do you think about you? Do you frequently think others are better than you, or do you feel superior to others? Then just look at all these sentences. These are all in your control. These are all our responsibility to manage. These are the foundation of the relationship we have with this person. It will probably be very obvious to you what you want to change. Which aspect is creating resistance or unnecessary negativity? Regardless, if we have evidence to the contrary, we can choose to think whatever we want about others without their permission. We can think positive, kind thoughts, and they can't change it. Now, this will irritate the heck out of people who want to hurt you. Choosing not to accept hurt and negativity is one of the most freeing and liberating things that we can ever do. That's it for this week. If you would like personalized, weekly, private, one-on-one coaching to improve your relationship with your family, with your teenagers, sign up for a consult call at HeidiBenjaminson.com. A confident mother is the greatest gift to her family, not a perfect mother. Our families want us to feel confident anchored in calm. I can help you uncover this version of yourself. Have a great week.